Hello, hello. My name is the Pink Warden, and I am here to discuss a lady's first look at Ashes of Creation. Let me just first say, this game looks incredible, and I am so excited to give it a try. I was a huge RuneScape fan, and this looks like such a step up from the original RuneScape. Now, there's a lot of common questions that have been raised in other YouTube videos and at the Q&A sessions, but there's a few things that they haven't touched on yet that hopefully, along with me, a lot of the other lady players are going to be wondering about. The first thing that comes to mind is, of course, the scenery. Games like RuneScape, they had some nice areas, but pretty much the entire map was green, brown, and gray. And it was great for the quest and everything, but I really got a little bit tired of that scenery for hour after hour after hour of grinding away and training. So far, a lot of the sketches look incredible for this game. Not only are we going to have forest areas, which are going to be the traditional green and brown, but they're also going to have stunning sandy beaches with Polynesian backgrounds. They're going to have an underrealm with glowing mushrooms and imaginative crystal creatures. And it looks like they're even going to have deserts and volcanic areas, all with their own unique personality, coloration, scenery, animation, and creatures. That is going to be so eye-catching, serious eye candy for all of us lady players who appreciate a better look. Thankfully, despite all of these incredible graphics, we are going to be able to play it on our modern computers. The engine that they're using for this game is called Unreal 4 Engine. This is the same engine that the Batman games were created on. This allows the games to be played on modern mid-range hardware. So as long as you have a decent graphics card, you are good to go when this game comes out. Even better news from the company, they also have been working on coding to allow low-end players to make modifications to the game. So you don't have to have the super high graphics to enjoy the game. Everyone's going to get a chance to play it. The next amazing feature about this game is the regions. Now, the next question that comes to my mind, are these regions actually all going to have cities? Or are there going to be some uglier, scarier regions for quests and battles, and other areas that are more believable for people to be living in? What if I wind up getting dropped into the game in a really ugly region? Am I going to be able to easily move to another region, or am I pretty much stuck until I've leveled up enough to move on? The final concern that I have regarding the visuals is the promise that the game makers have made that we players are going to define the map and change the map when it comes to battling, taking out cities, possibly even inhabiting new areas. Now, one of the things that drove me absolutely crazy in RuneScape was towards the end of RuneScape's popularity, they had a huge God Wars that created a giant crater on the map where there used to be a very nice forest. Now it's an ugly giant crater, and they kept that crater forever. I'm hoping that in this game, despite the epic battles and quests that we're going to be experiencing, that nature can come back in and take back any ugly black marks that players inadvertently put on the surface. So we'll have to wait and see what the game has in store for nature's ability to take back what's rightfully its during the different challenges and quests. So the next area that I'd like to discuss is the costumes and character customization of the game. Now, I know that most guys are all about the strongest armor and the best weapons, but when I play a game, I like to make sure that my costume is creative and absolutely enchanting and eye-catching because, come on, in a game it's so much easier to click than to try and sew your costume in real life. So I'm wondering exactly how varied the costumes are actually going to be in the game. We've had a promise that this is going to be a high fantasy game, but yet we're seeing sketches of things like colonial costumes. There's Polynesian grass skirts in some of the sketches. So are we talking about not so much fantasy costumes, but rather regional specific and perhaps even separate historical specific, or are we going to have the ability to customize through a typical fantasy wardrobe? Are we going to get to choose between different styles of dresses? And how about the different races? Are the elves going to have the same costume choices as a dwarf and a human? Or are those even going to be different styles to help better define and separate out the races? Additionally, my huge question is, what are these elves going to wind up looking like? Because high fantasy is kind of a vague term with regard to the specific races. In some fantasies, for instance, the elves are short and awkward and kind of ugly looking, like in Dragon Age. And then in The Lord of the Rings, you have these gorgeous, tall, pretty people with just pointy ears, but otherwise human-esque features. So I really cannot wait to actually see some sketches of what the actual race characters are going to look like. It's going to be so exciting to see. Finally, I'm wondering about the accessories in the game. Are the rings going to offer certain additional powers, such as a boost in magic or melee accuracy? If we want to go and fight a dragon, are we going to all have to use the exact same shield? Or can we customize our armor depending on our own taste? No matter what they decide to do in this area, I'm really looking forward to seeing how customized it is, and also whether everything is limited to the specific region wherever you are, or whether we will see people in grass skirts running around the castles. It'll be very interesting to see. So next, I want to give a perspective for those of us who are moms in the group, because believe it or not, once we're moms, we do actually have a little bit of time to play each day. Not as much as we used to when we were younger, but it's still a lot of fun. And so my question is, are we actually going to have activities that are completely AFK training for those of us who are rocking a child to sleep or waiting to finish up nap time, where we can do something quick, but we can easily walk away and not have to worry about our character getting killed by a dragon? Additionally, is there going to be low-intensity resource gathering or processing of goods where we can simply walk back and forth from one location to a bank or one location to a mill and take care of a process and actually come up with a good or an ingredient? Or is it going to be a long, drawn-out, and possibly dangerous process to get all of the supplies that we need in order to make something? Additionally, I'm hoping to see some quest clarifiers come out. We recently got to see a video of the players actually completing a quest, and that looked like a very complicated, difficult quest that required multiple players in a team. Now, for those of us who prefer a more of an AFK style, occasionally we might want to do a quest, but of course, when you're in the middle of rocking a child or something, you cannot do a 3-hour quest where you have an entire team depending on you. So what are they going to do to solve this for those of us ladies out there who need a little AFK questing? Are we going to see perhaps some clarifiers that say that this is an easy quest that you can do alone? Maybe even have an exclamation point if there's going to be some dangerous battles in it. Something to give us a heads up and let us know that even though we're starting this quest, it's going to be able to be completed rather efficiently and quickly, as opposed to taking hours and maybe disappointing a team if we have to drop out. Finally, I am so enjoying the Facebook lore update. That was incredible to read. I am a total bookworm, and so I really do appreciate it when a game actually builds a backbone story for their races and for the world around them, because that world creating really, really, really customizes the game and brings everything back into perspective. So now my big question though is the ones that have come out have been a little cliche. The most recent one, for instance, was dealing with the dwarfs, and unfortunately, the dwarfs always have tragedy happen in their minds. Even from the very first story, we have Smaug coming after those dwarves and completely slaughtering them and taking their treasure. So it wasn't really surprising as I continued to read the story to realize that this was dwarves whose mind was being attacked, because dwarves' minds are always attacked. So We'll have to wait and see what Intrepid is going to do with some of the races and whether they're going to shake things up a bit and maybe surprise us with something different dealing with the races, something that we might not be familiar with or expect to see from the fantasy races. Now, the other concern that I really have was something that I found a little bit in RuneScape, but mainly in games like Albion Online, and that, of course, is the effects of gathering the more expensive resources. Is there actually going to be player versus player where you're going to get completely attacked if you go to grab a rare herb that's outside of your city limits? Or is it going to be safe for gatherers so that you can actually connect with your trade? Now, obviously, they have announced that there are going to be caravans, and that's dangerous. They said that when caravans travel, it is going to be open PvP. They also mentioned in the updates that it'll be open PvP in battle zones when castles are getting attacked, and for certain events that they're going to have isolated within the game itself. So, are they going to continue with that sort of open PvP in areas that are outside of the nodes, or are they going to keep those areas protected and allow a very specialized flagging system so that we players can go and gather our goods in safety, knowing that we're not going to be attacked by other players who are seeking to just wipe out players? Something else that I found very exciting to hear about was the taverns. They are setting up an intentional social hub where we get to hang out, rest, talk to the other players, connect, gather quests, and be in the safety and enjoy some food and drink while we do so. There have also been drop hints of games and other things that are going to go on at the taverns. Now, that is totally awesome, but one concern that I have for us ladies is it really going to be all that inclusive for us? Because, of course, there's usually only about 10% female players in these games to begin with. So, personally, I would love to see a ladies-only tavern open up in one of these nodes. Who knows, maybe I'll have the chance to open it myself. But just think, ladies, about the opportunity to kick back with no interruptions from guys, to get to enjoy things our own way in the game, where we can have our own small talk and relax a little before we head back out into the main world and all of its manly adventures. So we'll have to wait and see whether Intrepid has an idea to make things a little more customized for the ladies in this game, or whether we're just going to have to stick with hanging out with the guys the whole time. It'll be really interesting to see. The final note that I am so stoked about is there are not only going to be familiars in this game, but there are going to be mounts. So we can finally ride that unicorn in the Shimmery Forest. That is so exciting. So I'm very excited that they have actually been encoding mounts and familiars directly into the game. It's going to be amazing to see what sort of creatures they come up with, especially given how creative and imaginative the creatures currently are that they're showing us in these incredible videos. I mean, creatures that you could never even imagine, even in a lot of the fantasies that have been written, we're seeing presented before us in this amazing game. So that's all I've got for you right now, ladies. Here's hoping that we get some more incredible footage from Intrepid, and I am looking forward to the beta testing so that we all can take a huge, fun, amazing first look at this incredible new fantasy world. Thank you, ladies. I'll look forward to more updates, and if you like my feed, please feel free to subscribe. Talk to you later.